Hey guys, good evening. This is Homework with Miss Ray, and we are continuing our journey on Stand Your Ground. Last night, we got a chance to look at the George Zimmerman case in the instance where he shot Trayvon Martin and was found innocent based on Stand Your Ground laws that take place in not only Florida, but Texas as well, and 23 other states. I was going to say countries, but states. So we were looking at Stand Your Ground, and we had a chance to talk about it today. And I'm pretty sure I'm filming this in advance, but I'm pretty sure our conversation, as always, was a delight to hear you guys' thoughts and your perspective on everything. So what we're going to look at is Stand Your Ground, but in 5 other cases where people have lost their lives or people have used Stand Your Ground to basically cover their tracks for some of the choices that they have made. And so I want you to look at these 5 different scenarios to determine, does Stand Your Ground work differently for your race, gender, and circumstances? Each circumstance is different. Each individual is of a different race. And then we also have a female with a different circumstance. So does Stand Your Ground work differently? So I do want you to take notes on each individual. We have John McNeil, who is a Black man. We have John White, who is also a Black man. Darius Simmons, the person who was accused for shooting him, is white. Jordan Davis, the person who is accused of shooting him, is white. And then Marissa Alexander is Black, and she is, of course, a female. And so I want you guys to share your thoughts with me as I look at different cases of the Stand Your Ground law. I believe or I feel that this should be confirming your thoughts from last night to tonight. What are your feelings about it now that you can see other instances outside of George Zimmerman? And then give me a reason. I feel or I believe what, because of what. Do you think Stand Your Ground law is a good idea or is it bad? What are your thoughts about it? And then the case that worried me the most was which instance that we're looking at in our notes worried you? Which one bothered you or rubbed you the wrong way the most? And then tell me why. All right, so you guys are taking notes and we are going to be prepared to share it out. Why did I exit out? Sorry, guys. All right. So our first person is John McNeil. I'm going to read through these, and of course, because this is a video, you guys can pause it and stop to take notes as you wish. All right, so John McNeil. In 2005, John McNeil received a phone call from his son reporting that 19-year-old Brian Epp was trespassing in the backyard of the family's Georgia home, wielding a box cutter. McNeil, a Black man, returned home, called the police, and told Epp, a white man, to leave. He then fired a warning shot into the ground, but Epp continued to approach. McNeil then shot Epp, killing him. Witnesses corroborate McNeil's account of events, and police initially ruled he acted in self-defense. But months later, the Cobb County District Attorney's Office brought murder charges against him and won a conviction. McNeil was sentenced to life in prison. In February 2013, after spending 6 years in prison, McNeil's case was reconsidered and he pleaded guilty to the reduced charge of manslaughter and received a time served and released on time served and 13 years probation. So again, take your notes on John McNeil. He was Black. The person that he shot was white, and he was convicted and received life in prison. Even though he did call the police, he did try to shoot a warning shot to get Mr. Epp to back away, and then eventually he did shoot. So not looking at with Stand Your Ground, you don't have to do all of that, but he did and was still convicted to life in prison. So do take your notes and share your thoughts on that. Next up, John White. In 2007, John White, a black Long Island man, was found guilty of manslaughter after a jury rejected White's claim that he was trying to protect his family from a group of white teenagers threatening his son when his gun accidentally discharged, killing 17-year-old Daniel Sicario Jr. As reported by the New York Daily News that year, White had been sleeping inside his home in Miller Place, a predominantly white community in eastern Long Island, when he was woken up by his son, alerting him that he was being threatened by Sicario and others. A confrontation outside White's house occurred, at which point White said Sicario lunged for his gun, causing it to go off. In 2010, the then Governor David Paterson commuted White's sentence, basically changed it, and White returned home to his family. So again, take notes on the events that took place in this case. Do make sure that you note the race and gender and the circumstance for each person that we're looking at. All right, Darius Simmons. John Spooner, a white 76-year-old Milwaukee man, shot and killed Darius Simmons, his 13-year-old neighbor, who is black, after confronting the teen while he was taking out the garbage in front of his family's home. According to police, Spooner believes Simmons had stolen from him and allegedly told the teenager that he would teach him not to steal before shooting him once in the chest. Spooner has admitted he shot Simmons, telling the police, "They are going to throw the book at me because I shot a kid," as one officer testified. The entire incident was captured by a security camera, which Assistant District Attorney Mark Williams has called the most important piece of evidence at the trial. You're going to see the terror in Darius's face, and you're going to see how cold-blooded and callous Mr. Spooner was. Callous means hard. You know how you have calluses on your hands, or some people have calluses on their toes, but callous is usually means hard, that he was hard, or like it says, cold-blooded. Just an update, Spooner has been found guilty of first-degree intentional homicide. Intentional means he meant to kill him, and it was not an accident. All right. Jordan Davis. Michael David Dunn shot and killed 17-year-old Jordan Davis at a gas station last year because the teen was playing music too loud. After exchanging words with Davis, Dunn, who is white, told police that he began shooting because he believed Davis, who is black, was armed. It was either a barrel or a stick, but, sir, they're like, "We're going to kill you." And then they said, "You're dead." There was a bad word there, so they removed it. What I should have done was put the car in reverse, but that shotgun come up, or whatever it was, fight or flight, and I don't think there was time for flight at that moment because I was going to get shot. Dunn then fled the scene, went to a hotel, and ordered a pizza. He was arrested the next day. When asked by the police why he didn't call them to report the crime, Dunn said, "I wanted to come back to my hometown to do that, with our dog and everybody, where they needed to be. I didn't want to bring a blank storm in Jacksonville." Dunn is now facing a first-degree murder charge and 3 attempted murder charges, and intends to invoke Florida Stand Your Ground law in his defense. So he is planning on using the Stand Your Ground law to basically justify why he shot Jordan Davis in his trial. Okay, last one. Invoking Florida's Stand Your Ground law did little to protect Marissa Alexander, a 31-year-old African-American mother of 3 who was sentenced to 20 years in prison after she fired a warning shot to ward off her husband during a domestic violence incident. Alexander, who had a protective order out against her husband, aimed her shot at the ceiling, injuring no one. So domestic violence is basically where there's abuse. Maybe he was attacking her in some way, or has done it before. And so she had a protective order, so he wasn't even supposed to be there in her home or near her anywhere. but she didn't shoot him. She just fired a shot and got 20 years for it. So Alexander maintained throughout the trial that she was acting in self-defense, but was convicted of 3 counts of aggravated assault in 2011. And despite the fact that she had no prior record, she was given the harsh sentence of 20 years because of the state's mandatory minimum sentencing requirements. And that's a whole horse of a different color, looking at laws and jail time and things like that. We don't have time to go through that this year. So Marissa Alexander, Jordan Davis, Darius Simmons, John White, John McNeil. You guys need to tell me the race of each, the person who was shot or shot at, and the person who received the consequence, what was the circumstance, basically giving me all these different things. Does Stand Your Ground work differently for different races, for different genders, and for different circumstances? Not everyone in these 5 scenarios were threatened or in a position where they were under attack or in threat for their lives. So how does it work? What are your thoughts in the end? And I cannot wait to hear what your opinions are about these 5 circumstances. So we'll see you guys tomorrow.